All right, this video is going to cover the second half of this chapter on dictionary use and groundwork for college reading. So we've already gone over the first half, and we just want to cover the back half of this. So one of the other things that you'll find in a dictionary entry, whether it's in a paper dictionary or in an online dictionary, is the parts of speech. Now, parts of speech are things like nouns, verbs, adjectives. There's a variety of other parts of speech. The importance of knowing what part of speech a word is helpful in knowing how to use the word, because nouns, as we've talked about before, are often used as subjects or objects in a sentence. Verbs tend to come after the subjects. And adjectives often come after the verb to be, and also before nouns. So sometimes it's helpful in knowing the parts of speech so that you'll know how to use it. So rather than writing out the whole word, noun, verb, or adjective in the dictionary, what a dictionary will do is use abbreviations, which is a shortened form to show what type of word it is. So for example, in this word distress, we can see that there's actually two separate definitions for distress. The first one here, you see that there's an N here, meaning that the first definition and the second definition are the definitions for the noun. The other definition that is given is here. You can see this V is for the verb definition. So you can see that the word can be used two different ways and has different meanings depending on whether it is a noun or a verb. So the most common abbreviations that you'll find, and there may be slightly different ones depending on your dictionary, but N means a noun, V is for verb, PRON is for a pronoun, which we've talked about before, he, she, it. CONJ is a conjunction. That's words like and, or, but. ADJ is for adjective. PREP is for a preposition, which is words like in, on, over. ADV is an adverb. Adverb tends to be words that are used that are spelled, the end of them are with ly, and interjections are words that we definitely won't be covering, so I'm not going to go over those. But here, if we look at this one, in this dictionary entry, what parts of speech are listed for the word progress? Well, we start here, we see the syllables, so we see there's 1, 2 syllables. We see the pronunciation is progress, so the stress here is on the first one. And we have this first definition is a noun definition, movement towards a goal, steady advance. But we'll notice here that there's a second definition here for a V, and it's actually interesting because it gives us a second pronunciation. We'll notice in this first pronunciation, the stress is on the first one, progress. But in this case, when it's a verb, the stress is on the second syllable. So progress, meaning to move along and advance. So the two parts of speech are noun and verb in this case. And interestingly, even though the word is spelled the same, the pronunciation is different for those ones. All right, so along. So another thing that dictionary entries will show you is they'll show you irregular forms of words. So as I mentioned in class, English spelling can be very difficult because English has taken words from a lot of different languages, meaning that all of the words don't always follow the same rules. So for example, normally when we are making a word into the past tense, we just add ed to it. But in this case, we have the word draw, and we'll notice that here actually the past tense is drew, and then we have drawn, and it also gives us this form, drawing, which isn't actually irregular, but it's just the ing form. If we look at lazy, we see that when we make this into what's called a comparative, we have to change the Y to an I, so it becomes lazier, and the same thing with laziest. Same thing here with city. Normally we just add an S to a word to make it plural, but we notice that when it ends in a consonant and a Y, we actually have to change that Y to an I and add ES. So this gives you some of the irregular forms. The last thing, the second and last thing, obviously, is the definitions of the words. And as we've noted before, is that oftentimes one word will have more than one meaning. So for example, most dictionaries give 3 definitions for the word judgment. So the first definition is a decision made in a court of law. 2 is the ability to think carefully about something. And 3 is an opinion or a conclusion. So when we're looking up the meaning of a word and we can see that there's 3 definitions, we have to go back and look at the sentence that the word appears in, which meaning makes the most sense. So if we look at this one, the sentence is, the parents showed good judgment in refusing to put a television in their son's room. So if we go through each one of these definitions, one of them will make sense. So if we say the parents showed a good decision in a court of law in refusing to put a television in their son's room, that doesn't really make sense. But the second definition, the parents showed the ability to think carefully about something in refusing to put a television in their son's room. That one sounds good. The parents showed a good opinion or a good conclusion in refusing to put a television in their son's room. That's the one that's but of course I say that and then they give me the other one. So in this case what we're saying judgment is ability to think about something, but I think you could argue the third one might also be a good answer as well. Another thing that will be included in a dictionary entry is also synonyms. So what a synonym is a word that has the same meaning for it. And sometimes for understanding a word is knowing another word that has a similar meaning. The opposite of a synonym is an antonym, which is a word that has the opposite meaning. There's also a special kind of book which is called a thesaurus, and you can buy these books or you can just go online and there's a website called thesaurus.com. And what a thesaurus does is rather than giving definitions for words, is they give antonyms and synonyms for the words. So these are a couple of thesauruses that you can go to for use. And these are some of the paperback ones that are useful that you could purchase. All right, so just to review everything that we covered in this chapter, the first thing the authors of the chapter suggest is that you should own 2 dictionaries. At this point in time, I don't think that that's necessary, but it's probably a good idea for you to have at least 1 paper dictionary to use in your classes for testing. It's also probably a good idea for you to, on your phone, to have both a translation dictionary. I noticed a number of you use Google Translate, which is good, and is improving, but you actually want to get away from translation, so it would also be good to download an app with just a dictionary. So Merriam-Webster has an app as well, which you could use as well. We talked a little bit about using guide words and spelling hints to help you find, to look up the word when you're in class and you're trying to find the spelling of the word. And we also talked about that a dictionary tells you a variety of things, including how a word is spelled and broken into syllables, how it's pronounced, the part of speech or parts of speech, and other forms of the word, and definitions of the word, and sometimes also synonyms and antonyms. What I'd recommend you to do is to take some time to go through this chapter, completing the practice activities and reviewing the answers in the back of the book. Then you can go back and review the online activities. The exercises that you do online can be retaken. So if you've done them already, you can go back and retake them, especially if you didn't do well on them, to help you with your understanding. All of the tests that are on there cannot be retaken. So you go ahead and do those, but I'd actually recommend before doing them, do the exercises, do the tests in the book, because that can help you to practice for it. All right, take care. We'll see you in class.